Ready.
Everybody, hello, and welcome back to the Political Pulse. We are super happy to have you for episode 3, guys. I can't believe it's been episode 3. It's unbelievable. And Kenny, there's something going on with your connection on Twitter. I just got a notification, and I think you probably got it too. So you may want to look on your phone and just kind of see what that is. But guys, we're gonna jump right into it. How has it? First off, before we even kind of go into tonight's show, let's do a quick pulse check. Everybody, how are you feeling with 20 days away from this election?
It's wow. It's
I'm feeling
wow.
excited. I'm feeling
I'm
hopeful.
excited too.
I do feel like some of the internet excitement that was around the DNC, everybody was like, "Oh, this feels like Obama." I feel like that has dwindled just a smidge, but I'm still very, very hopeful because social media is not a real place. The numbers look good, so you know.
Kenny, what are you thinking? We everybody, you right there in the thick of it.
Look, I'm very optimistic. Looking at the early voting turnout that's going on in Georgia, I'm really optimistic. The question is, who are they voting for? Kind of like what I said earlier. So obviously, I'm concerned about white women. Of course, I'm not necessarily concerned about black outreach because when you look at the numbers, we always support Democrats. We are literally number one when it comes to black women, number two right behind black men. So the main thing is just getting the message out there and trying to encourage other people to vote. There is no reason to be undecided at this point. We already know which candidates are. We just have to basically just get as many people as we can to the polls. Do not listen to the polls just because at the end of the day, polls don't vote, people do. So that's all we got to do. Just bring one or two friends with you or try to encourage a family member, a neighbor, a coworker. Try to do whatever you can to get these people out because we cannot allow a repeat of 2016. We cannot take anybody for granted.
Well, I think that's a big theme of what we're going to see in tonight's show as we talk about and kind of go through uh, Vice President Kamala Harris's effort to leave no voter behind and Donald Trump's continued doubling down on leaving everyone behind except white men. So the name of tonight's episode, everyone, of course, is A Black Man Can with a Black Man Plan. And of course, we are talking directly about Vice President Kamala Harris's economic opportunity agenda for black men and really wanting to know what this panel thinks about it, also wanting to know what you guys out there think about it. We have currently 41 viewers tuning in from a variety of social media platforms. We want to hear from you. We have a friend here. I don't know my friend's name. My friend, hello. We're glad you're here. We want to see other people jump right into the chat formats on whatever resource or whatever platform you're looking from and give us what you think and your feedback as we talk about Vice President Kamala Harris's plan for the black man and kind of what you think about it. Kenny, this is, of course, something that you've made a lot of content around. You've talked about it quite a bit on social media. What are your initial thoughts about Vice President Harris's plan for the black man?
So, since black men have been complaining, saying they don't feel like they're being centered or heard, right now, Kamala Harris said, look, you wanted it, I'm about to give it to you. Since you want to talk about tangibles, well, let's talk about it. Let's just jump into it. Kamala Harris has an economic initiatives offering up to 1 million forgivable loans, up to 20,000 for black entrepreneurs, improving access to affordable banking services, creating regulatory frameworks to protect cryptocurrency investments, which are popular among black men. When it comes to employment and education, increasing the funding and training for mentoring and also apprenticeship programs. I remember Dr. Umar Johnson was on the Breakfast Club and he was talking about apprenticeship programs. Well, here you go. Kamala Harris is giving it to you. When it comes to encouraging black men to pursue careers in education, as somebody we see right here, Zach Kirk, who is also a former educator. When it comes to health initiatives, launching national initiatives to better fund research for treatment like health issues that disproportionately affect black men, such as sickle cell, diabetes, and prostate cancer. And then when it comes to cannabis legalization, advocating for the legalization of recreational marijuana, ensuring black men can also access economic opportunities in that industry. But before we get into anything else, I want to be very clear here. When we're talking about these policies that are targeted toward black men, there's intersectionality here. It's not only going to benefit black men, regardless of gender, sexual orientation, this will benefit the entire black community. So I'm gonna need people to understand that all of these things are intertwined. You cannot help one without the other.
You absolutely can't help one without the other. But I think that it does say a lot to be in America, a place that, quite frankly, was built by Black labor. We haven't had a presidential candidate come out and say so clearly and so poignantly, listen, I'm talking to you, I'm trying to better your households. Kenny mentioned that there were safeguards for cryptocurrency. There are about 20% of African American men who have either invested in cryptocurrency or have current investments in cryptocurrency. This is more than just about saying like, hey, I'm going to do something for you. This is quite literally putting money inside of the Black households, but it's also positioning and structuring. I feel like Kamala Harris in the Walls campaign for the very first time in America is saying, hey, we see you as the head of the household. As coming from a history where we are stripping Black men out of households, we are systematically breaking Black households, tearing them apart, anywhere from slavery to, whether or not crack was dropped off in the hood, to implementing drug testing and getting rid of half of the factory workers that existed in the 70s, when they then turned around and simultaneously gave women the right to have credit cards, making women one of the biggest pushers of economics. When they took that power from Black men, Kamala Harris and the Walls campaign are saying, we're giving it back to you. We acknowledge you. You are the heads of your household. We see you and we want to help better you.
I think that for the most part, this is an answer to what your question has been. And don't you have no more excuses. You've asked, what does she do for Black men? You've asked, she does see Black men. She has a full out blow by blow for Black men. So I hope that there is no more questions about it. She's opening up more jobs as far as education goes for Black men. And they are definitely, as a former teacher myself, I know how important they are in a classroom. So I'm just happy to see this. So I hope this leaves no more room for question. I will say that.
So one thing I want to know, this is, and I have some thoughts, but I want to ask the panel to kind of think on this and then come back. We'll kind of come back to it. I want to know, Kenny did a good job of kind of indicating it to all of us that this is not just a plan for the Black man, but it's a plan that anyone will be able to take advantage of and will be able to enjoy the advantages of. But there are people out there, like literally Tariq Rashid or whatever his name is, Mr. Bayang out there. But he literally said today and made a post saying that, once again, Kamala Harris and Democrats have failed the Black community. This isn't a plan for just Black men. It's a plan for everyone. And he's literally, using rhetoric to water down or to negate the effectiveness, of the plans. I do want to know from you guys, in order for something to be seen as Black or as a plan for a Black man, is it something that has to be very specific and only to that community? So while you think of that, I also want, for my audience out there, I want to know, what is your favorite element of the plan? Of all the things proposed in the plan, what part of the plan is it that you like and appreciate the most? Now, this is kind of something I want to say and kind of add into the mix, is that, personally, Vice President Harris has truly gone above and beyond in her efforts to reach every voter. And I think this was an essential step to ensure that any disenfranchised Black man out there and Black person out there is going to see that, one, she cares and she's making an effort. But even bigger than that, this is a fundamental step by Democratic leadership to truly give a level of reparations in a way that they can to the Black community in ways that they have been done wrong and been systemically oppressed. A lot of people are really happy about the cryptocurrency part. As someone who never invested in cryptocurrency schemes, because that's how I've always seen them, that's not the part that excited me. But the part that excited me is the incentivization for Black entrepreneurs to become invested in hydroponics, hydroculture, which is the growing, harvesting, and the cultivation of cannabis. I think we know that this is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and so many Black people are not a part of that industry. There are some in our community who know how to do this, who have been taught to do this well. Farming and agriculture is a mainstay of our culture, but we are not able to do it legally. We're not able to be involved in the opportunity to gain business or to earn capital from it. So for me, that's kind of one of the most exciting parts, you know, of the plan for the Black man. So, but I do want to know from you guys, what is the biggest part of the plan that you enjoy the most? And is this something can we make this be seen in the right way? And if we can, what do we even say to people like Tariq Nasheed or Rashid or whatever his name is? What do we even say to those people who are so determined to ensure that Vice President Harris doesn't gain the support that she deserves from our Black community?
Can I at least start with Tariq Nasheed real quick? Just something really
Uh-oh.
quick. It seems like he keeps
It's about
moving
to
the
get
goalposts
good.
when it comes to Kamala Harris, and he loves to come about her biraciality. But first, he needs to check his wife's biraciality. If he wants reparations, he should ask it from his mother-in-law, who's white. But anyways, back to the
Ooh.
point. When we're talking about policy and we're talking about things that impact the Black community, the reason why we don't have these bills that say Wakanda Blackity Black Forever bill, the reason why there's not solely only for Black people is because the mere fact that there's things called constitutional muster, right? What that basically means about constitutional muster, bills have to be inclusive enough to where they cannot be challenged in court. We saw with the American Rescue Plan where they allocated $4 billion to solely only Black farmers, which was challenged by a former Trump aide in the courts and was struck down as unconstitutional. What we have to understand is any bill that specifically targets, when we're looking at the disparities and we're seeing the people that have been left behind, whether it be marginalized people, Black communities, women, Black men, gays, queer, whatever. When we're looking at bills that specifically target a group, we have to understand that there's going to be an intersectionality there. Even though this majority will help Black people, it's going to also help others. Look at the American Rescue Plan again. When we actually passed the child tax credit and expanded that, the majority of Black children were lifted out of poverty. 600,000 Black children were lifted out of poverty due to that policy. It primarily helped Black children, but it also helped white children. It helped Hispanic children. We have to understand that there's a commonality here, and it's not an us versus them situation. And that's what we have to get into.
We definitely have to get into that. One of my favorite parts of the plan was actually the initiative for healthcare. Obviously, we're not monolithic, but there is this overwhelming need. Number one, being Black in America is traumatic. Period. At the end, we just saw that little boy in Sarasota, Florida, walking down the street and was being harassed by 3 grown white men, so much so that one needed to go pull out the street artillery. We cannot exist here. That in and of itself should qualify for free healthcare. Like, I don't know, but to have a plan that highlights the need for mental health care, not just mental health care, prostate cancer, Black men are diagnosed with prostate cancer at almost a 12% higher rate than any other race. That's 1 in 6 Black men. Again, you do the math. African-American people are 50% more prone to have diabetes before they die, and they are the largest group to have diabetes. The second one after that, to Kenny's point, is Hispanic, people who identify as Hispanic, which means that this is a Black and brown issue. And to Zach's earlier question, I think that it qualifies as a Black issue when you can quote sites like that. When we lead in these statistics and then you are going to speak to those statistics where we are the leader, that now qualifies as a Black issue. If it by proxy helps somebody else, we are all for that, because that's not what our community is about. And honestly, the fact that it's not what our community is about is what scares them. Them are so used to revenge and getting their lick back and all of that, that they are so scared that we're going to pull a them on them. If anybody can be helped whilst we're being helped, we're here for it. Like, go girl, go get that. So there to be safeguards around mental health and physical health, especially when we know by proxy, Black men, y'all don't normally be going to the doctors like that. So anything that helps get y'all in the door and get y'all tested and keep y'all around for a very long time, I support wholeheartedly.
I agree. And so someone said earlier, I think it was Kalani, make it make sense. Now, I don't know if you're talking about the plan itself, but in regards to making the plan kind of, make sense, this is a really good graphic that breaks it down, tons of videos on social media. But here are some of the main parts of the plan is that it's going to give out up to $1 million in loans that don't have to be forgiven to entrepreneurs, small businesses, so that they can have seed money and startup money and just continued maintenance money in the amount of $20,000 per business. Also, it's going to incentivize getting more Black men into the field of education, also allowing them to
Yes.
be able to get student loans forgiven for that. I think, Millie Chan, because you're on two devices, it gives an echo. So just be mindful of that. I think so. There's a
Okay.
slight ringing,
Is that
but that
better?
always happens when you like log in or like try to watch it and stream at the same time. We talked about
Okay.
cryptocurrency, but there's
I wanted
also
to. I wanted
Mhm. No, I'm gonna bounce it to you. But then also
wanted
L
to.
talked about that the healthcare part,
Okay.
and we talked about the
Can you hear me?
marijuana. Yeah, I hear you. And so we now bounce it to Millie.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
You're frozen, friend.
Oh, I don't know if you can hear me or not. Can you hear me?
We can hear you now. You're a little
Okay. So I think that as far as what you were saying, Zach, the education part of it, I think as being, like I said, being a former teacher, I think it's so important that, we always say we want to see representation. We've had Black female teachers, of course. I think young boys need to see men as teachers. I didn't grow up with a lot of men in school, but I realized that that is a very important aspect, and that I'm so happy about. And um, also rent, and as someone who wants to be a new homeowner, that is very important. The $25,000 down payment will help a lot of people, and to bring down the cost of rent for those who are paying rent, that makes a big difference, because that's a big thing right now for everyone. So all these things, as far as they go for Black men too, they go for everybody. So those are the things I really care about. It's all important, but those are the three top things for me.
The rent piece that Millie Chan was talking about, a lot of people were like, "Oh, I don't see all of these talking points, and ain't nobody talking about bringing down the cost of rent. Ain't nobody talking about bringing down the cost of rent." Kamala Harris, if you actually read, it's on page 5 of the document. If you would choose to go to KamalaHarris.com, honestly, you can type in "opportunity agenda for Black men." That's literally all you have to type in, and the very first one is the 9-page doc. So, like, you're welcome. But anyway, she is talking about putting caps on all of these apartment buildings. It don't matter where you live, what state you in. It's a new apartment building going up every week. And guess what? The people in the community cannot
They
afford
need
it.
to be capped.
On top of all of that, they're made for commuters. No matter what city you're in, them apartment buildings in your city is made for somebody to commute to the next largest city. And so guess what? They're 1 and 2 bedroom apartments. They're not space enough for family. So not only are you priced out, and then the next jump is what a house, renting a house, buying a house. God bless. So she's putting caps on that, and then in turn, if you are looking to buy a house, you are getting that $25,000 in down payment assistance. That housing market ain't nothing to play with. And so again, when you have one person who just learned about IVF, literally just the other day, one person who tells you that he invented IVF, he is IVF, like, we have to start really looking at what day-to-day life looks like with both of these candidates in office.
Yeah.
That's a direct quote. That's what that man said.
It's a direct quote. Donald Trump said that he invented IVF at a town hall here in Georgia. It's just unbelievable.
And that the whole Republican Party, because of him, has changed their stance on IVF.
No, it's a lot that's unbelievable. It's a lot that now he's not even campaigning anymore.
But here's my thing. We're just talking about this Black agenda situation. What is Trump's Black agenda? For everybody complaining about this not being enough, and some people going way over the board talking about they want child support forgiveness out of here. When we're talking about a Black agenda,
the most I can do is throw you a condom.
We're talking about tangibles. I challenge Tariq Nasheed to show me and pinpoint Donald Trump's black agenda for black men that specifically targets them, that specifically deals with health disparities, deal with business opportunities, deal with entrepreneurship. Tell me exactly what Donald Trump is actually offering black men other than gold sneakers.
The weave. It's a weave. You have to weave it together.
I don't know what to weave because like I'm too distracted by the fact that there's too many people making up all these excuses on why they cannot support Kamala Harris, who is not new to this, is true to this. Because when we're talking about, and some people are saying that, oh, she's doing this at the fourth quarter. The problem that people don't understand is you're finally paying attention. Kamala Harris just recently did a Black economics tour. Zach was actually there. It was earlier this June where she did a Black economics tour before she was even
in Atlanta.
Zach, could you please fill us in that Kamala Harris is not new to this? She's true to this. She's been doing the work. She met with over 100 Black male.
It was in April. So actually, it was back in April. Vice President Harris came to Atlanta. And she met with like two men from like a very popular business podcast. They were the host of it. She had a number of Black business leaders, including the owner of Dave's Cheesesteaks, and his wife Pinky was there. She had in Isaac Hayes III, the founder of Fanbase. She had Quavo there. Isn't it Quavo? Isn't that the one, or is it Takeoff? Which one is Major Cardi B?
Offset.
Okay, so it was Quavo. Rest in peace, Takeoff. It was Quavo. So Quavo was there, and he was like the co-host of it as well. And so it was all about economic opportunity for, America, but it was focused on the Black community with the emphasis on Black men. That was before she was even running to be president of these United States. So this is something that matters to her, that's important to her, and that she really, really cares about. So it's, to hear people say that she's trying to pander to a part of the community is so unfair when she's doing more than any other candidate has ever done to reach a portion of our populace who has been disenfranchised, and they're continuously being disenfranchised. With that being said,
interesting that you can see that she's giving something in every age group, right? Like we're getting male teachers in the classroom. That's representation for younger Black boys. There's funding going to HBCUs. This is help around college age students. And then there's something for the Black man, the adult. This is not like a plan that you just got to be like down on your luck living in America in order to benefit from. You know what I mean? Like it's multi-generational. And I think that's very good.
In her efforts to reach a broad span of people, she's also doing some very interesting tours and jumping onto different media platforms. And I also kind of want to talk about that. This week, she went on to a number of shows, but one of them happened to be Roland Martin, who is like the Black godfather of media. And it was, a really great interview. She's done a few other interviews within this past month, including Howard Stern. She did an exclusive interview with the Shade Room, as well as Alexandra Cooper in her Call Me Daddy podcast. Just moments ago, before joining and jumping onto this, she did an interview with Fox News, and Brett Breyer, Boo, whatever his name is. She did an interview with him as well on the horribly disastrous, tasteful Fox News. What do you guys think about Kamala Harris's continued media blitz in an effort to reach and appeal to every single voter, especially when you look at the fact that Donald Trump isn't doing any whatsoever?
I saw that she had given The View their best top viewers in 3 years?
Yes.
That was simply amazing. And even on the Call Me Daddy or the podcast, I think for a lot of people, because I saw a lot of response to her answering her question about being humble, having children make you humble. And when she said, who says I want to be humble? That screamed across America because she was speaking to a lot of women. She was speaking to all the women. The advance was like, get them out of here because they don't have kids or, whatever. They shouldn't be able to vote. And I think that could have changed a lot of people's minds. And I think this is a fantastic movement. I think she's saying all the right things. She's not holding an impromptu concert. So I think everybody's getting the answers that they want. And I think this is fantastic. And she's doing what she's supposed to do. And people, it is a clear winner, right? When no one wants to answer your questions and they want to dance versus answering your questions and how things are going to affect you, It's a clear winner.
I think, first of all, I want to say publicly, Zach, I owe you an apology because when she was doing 60 Minutes, I said, who the fuck cares? And you were like, no, like, look at the bigger picture. And I was like,
Listen,
actually, you're right. And I did get it from a zoomed out perspective, but my base level still stood like, who the fuck cares? Today, I think that Kamala dropped her little like, you could see a peek into her campaign's plan because when baby girl set up on that stage and she ran down all the things and then she clocked Mr. Trump and said, Mr. Trump is the only presidential candidate in like 60 years not to sit down with 60 Minutes. I said, bitch, you got him on the ropes. You better do what you were supposed to do. But also, I think she's just really giving Donald Trump room to put his foot in his mouth. I was telling y'all right before we came on, the readout was kind of gauging response to his town hall that he sat down with like a room full of women because that's who really wants to hear from him. And he had no answers. He had no answers from putting money back in the pockets to making groceries more affordable to feeling safe with your kids at school to IVF. Like there were no answers. And I think this week, what he's doing, everything, because everything matters this close to the race. Everything from the little 30 minutes dancing on the stage, from not being able to get a sentence together. Who did he just tell? They asked, oh boy, asked him about his economic plan, and he started talking about Elon and stuff. And when the guy called him back, he was like, I can go longer if you want. I'm weaving it together. Meanwhile, there was never an answer weaved into the babble. She is giving him space to insert his foot all the way back to that little dangly thing that swings.
Because he can't keep up. You know what I mean? And you can only play or be someone you're trying to be for only so long. And he's trying to be a politician. He's trying to be presidential, but it's not in him. And I feel like the people who actually support him are just people who don't care. They don't want to know. They don't even care. They can't see past themselves. So that's how I feel about it. And if you have somebody who's not willing to talk to you, who's not willing to answer your questions, how is your future going to be with you as my president? I think it's like I said, it's clear.
I agree. I think it's clear, but I also,
That you were very.
I don't feel good.
You're critical about her going on Fox News.
It was a horrible decision. I'm not gonna pretend like it was a horrible. Let me lay out. Let me create a case.
Go ahead
for the people. Now, before you deconstruct my case, Kenny ready to tear my case apart. 60 Minutes is the most watched news show in America, hands down. I think it may be even the world. More viewers watch 60 Minutes than any other broadcast news program, more than the competitors. Primetime Live on NBC and unfortunately, even my favorite, 2020, all came from 60 Minutes, and it's still the leader in regards to ratings. When you look at Fox News and Brett Breyer, I think, is his name Breyer? When you look at Brett, I was calling Brett. When you look at Fox News and Brett, I didn't watch one. Of course, I didn't watch it. I'm trying to avoid all clips, but from what I'm seeing, because I'm constantly monitoring social media to see the backlash and the fallout and the response, it seems as though he was out of his depth. That he proved that he is not a capable or even competent or fair journalist. But my thing is, why would VP even in any way attempt to give him any level of vindication or that network? Fox News literally settled a lawsuit for millions upon millions of dollars, claiming that they were never a news source in the first place and that they exist for the purpose of entertainment. That is the focus now, and that's what they said in their excuse for saying, well, we can lie. We can create facts and agendas because we're not the news, we're entertainment. I feel as though she shouldn't have given them time. She shouldn't have given them air. She shouldn't have given them space. And she sure as hell should not have given them ratings. But that's a personal thing. I don't think that VP should have gone on to Leonard McKelvey's little radio show on our Heart Radio. I feel as though, so I was thankful that she balanced it with Roland Martin. Roland Martin is someone who's been in the fight. He's committed to the fight. He's dedicated to the work. He cares about the community. Leonard McKelvey cares about himself. To me, Leonard McKelvey is the equivalent of Trump to Roland Martin's equivalent to Kamala Harris. Like that to me, that to me is kind of the difference in the two. I understand that we're fighting for every vote out there, but the thing is, we know that Fox News is going to spin this multiple times to make her look bad. We also know that there's a lot of people in mainstream media, not on Fox News, that are going to grab onto portions of that interview, elements of that interview, and we know what they're going to do. They're going to portray Kamala Harris as a certain type of
Angry
figure,
black woman.
a certain type of caricature, a certain type of stereotype, and they're going to sell that to the American people. They're going to do all they can to make her scary and unhinged and irrational, and that's what they're going to go with. And it's not true, none of these things. And so I'm not saying that, but what I am saying is, from a PR perspective, you've got to be ready for how your enemy is going to strategically attack you, and you have to be prepared for it. She was absolutely phenomenal in the interview from what I'm hearing on social media. She's more than equipped and more than prepared to handle Brett Boo Boo. But it's about the spin that will come later and how they overwhelm and inundate media with their claims. More people are going to see the spin than who actually saw the interview. That's my argument, Kenny. It's to you.
Look, my whole thing is Kamala Harris can't leave any stone unturned. And my whole thing is I'm glad that she's actually going to these Republican outlets. I'm glad she's going everywhere that she possibly can to get the outreach, because at the end of the day, it's going to be white women and white people that low-key she has to reach out to white suburban women. If they're watching Fox News, she has to reach out to them. But one thing that I've noticed from the clips that I've seen with the interview is she's not holding anything back. She's answering every question, and it's not that much room for them to spin, because everything that she answered every question with substance and always led back to her agenda and what she wants to do and her vision of America. So there's no way. What I think is so masterful about this, she went on Fox News, right, where they refused to talk about her agenda, where they refused to talk about her policies. She went on their platform where they refused to talk about her policies and laid them out for the American people to see it for themselves. That's tactical.
Why she went on there.
Yeah, you
don't want to talk about my policies. I'm going to bring my policies to you. That's why I believe that it's important for her to go on places like this, because she understands she's not trying to be just president for the Democratic Party. She's trying to be president of the United States, which is the Republican independent. She has to be. I am trying to be a president for all Americans, not some. I'm sorry, I just had to hit you right now, Zach. I just had to.
No, she definitely said this is the difference between me and him. I am a bipartisan president. I'm going to reach across the aisle. These things are going to happen. But that interview gave very much when Lynn invited Maya to her talk show. That was an ambush. That I know them questions was not approved.
How do you feel about what Kenny said? Because I totally agree. Like you said, they wouldn't talk about her agenda. They wouldn't talk about her politics.
They wouldn't.
You know, so okay, you want to talk about them? How about I come and talk about them for you? And then you give a new set of eyes and ears. I mean, they're listening in the bushes, but now when you're up front talking to you, you have no choice but to listen.
Mm-hmm.
And like
she's removing every barrier.
Yeah, there's no way you can spin it because she follows it up.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Carol. Carol has a good point here. I agree with that.
She did give him a little room to give the angry black woman mantra. Is it deserved? No. Did she give him a little room? Absolutely. Did she need to read him down in that moment when he asked the question and played a clip that was completely different than what was asked? Absolutely. So she held her own. But to me, and if her campaign is smart, which they are, to me, if it gets spun that way, they will turn around and say, you want a pit bull in them conference rooms. When we in the sit room, you don't want you want a pit bull.
The beautiful thing about the Harris campaign, Kamala HQ, they're already spending this in their favor already. So they're already taking advantage of the narrative. They got the narrative right now, and there's nothing really they can do. So her PR, they're ready. They're already ready and already created clips and already creating ads around this entire interview. So they're already they already know what Fox is going to do because they're only a one-trick pony. But as far as painting her out as an angry black woman, child, they was going to do that anyway. They do that anyway.
I think it's also incumbent upon us.
If she had never been on their show, they were just going to take clips and take things out of context themselves from other interviews, past interviews she did with Charlamagne, past interviews she's done with Merlin Martin, past interviews she's done on 60 Minutes. That's what they do. But rather than doing that and being able to create small little snippets and clips, she said, I'm going to go on your platform and I'm going to use your time. and I'm gonna
Yes.
put out my agenda. I'm gonna use
And
your
I
tone
love it.
to tell you my policies.
They
Instead
have
of say I have no policies, I'm gonna tell you my agenda, and I want you to compare that to Donald Trump, who's offering you absolutely nothing but grievance.
And I think we have to do more highlighting of the fact that Donald Trump is offering nothing, that he hasn't, like, everyone keeps hammering, talking about Kamala's policies, then she gives you policies, they move on to the next thing to hammer her on. No one's ever talked about the fact that Donald Trump has given us no policies other than Project 2025, which he claims isn't his policy. No one's hammering the fact that Donald Trump is not doing any interviews and that he's not willing to do any interviews. And no one's talking about the fact that, he's on stage, running around, dancing, looking like he's in absolute cognitive decline and a complete slip of mental health. No one in mainstream media is talking about that. We talk about it on social media, but the media isn't doing it. So we have to just keep hammering and keep hammering and keep hammering. And I also think that we have to call the media to task and point out the fact of how they're failing and throw it in their face. I mean, the American people see it. That's why, like, CNN has the lowest ratings in years and they're only falling further and further. But I think the more we highlighted it, the more we put it out there, the more we break through to the American people as content creators.
I don't even understand
They
how
were
people
struggling because they
keep
let
going
Don
for it,
Lemon back
because
on.
of the fact, if you have somebody up there trying to lead your party and they won't answer your questions, I think that is insane. Like, how could you follow someone like that? People have been hounding Kamala just like for the black men. She has something for the black men. What are you going to say now?
It's called unrealistic expectations. When it comes to misogyny and misogynoir, that rules over everything. So we have to break through that. At the end of the day, we cannot waste too much time on people who were not going to vote for her to begin with. The only thing we can do is reach out to the people and galvanize the people. Again, like I've been saying on all my videos, galvanize the people who give a damn. Stop going back and forth with these leftists. Start going back and forth with these sexists. Stop going back and forth with people who want to vote Jill Stein or Green Party. Stop going back and forth with all these MAGA black folks that constantly move the goalposts when it comes to Kamala Harris, but allows the most egregious things to come out of Donald Trump's mouth, where he continues to put black and brown people in harm's way with his rhetoric, also with his policies. So at the end of the day, we don't have time for this. What Michelle Obama said, we don't got time for that.
No.
Okay, what we need to do is get the people who care to the polls, and that's all we got to do. This is a turnout election. All we have to do, if people vote, she will win.
Hard work works if you work it. If you get them people out at the polls, but we saw that with 2008. We know the formula, right? Like, I think everybody, correct me if I'm wrong, on this panel was working polls for Obama, was outside, was involved in some capacity for that election. There was huge voter turnout. Like, listen, and then my thing is always the drinks hit a little bit more when you help work the polls and then your candidate win. Like, that's just a little bit better of a party.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, in terms of driving out the voters, we have seen, we literally saw a record shatter in Atlanta on yesterday and again today. As of today, right now, as this is going live, more than 600,000 people have voted in the state of Georgia. I want to let everyone be reminded, for some context and perspective. I want to say maybe it was 2008, maybe it was 2004, but there was a point in time when we didn't even have 1 million people in Georgia show up to vote. So the fact that on the first 2 days of early voting, we've already gotten 600,000 people vote is huge. I do want to talk about that, kind of talk about some of the early voting indicators that we're seeing from around the country, and then kind of open up the floor. So I know that we've seen a lot of people in the media talk about how great this is, or they kind of feel good about it. I am not kind of one of those people. I feel a lot more tempered about it, but I do want to open the floor and talk about, what do you think so far about what we can kind of see from trends in early voting?
I think that people are really serious. Those people, like Kitty said, who's going to vote for her is going to vote for her. So I think people are really getting out. They don't want to be held back. They don't want to wait in line. Early voting is going to shoot off. Like, it was like 63,000. What did it say in 2020? I think. And you said there's 600 plus thousand now who've already done it. Like, that is amazing. And I think people really want to make this change. Now, do I think we want to make a change in the Democratic favor or in Republican favor? I'm not sure, but I think early voting is what is the first thing that's on people's mind. Just get it over and get it done, because I think we're ready for it to be over also.
My opinion on early voting is normally it tends to favor Democrats along with absentee ballots and mail-in voting. That tends to favor Democrats. But the only concern that I have is that with this amount of voting and this amount of momentum, I don't want anybody to feel like they have to disengage saying, oh, well, I don't have to vote because the numbers are trending towards Harris, so she's got this in the bag. I don't want anybody to take anything for granted, but also
Right.
I don't want also for people to look at these early numbers and be like, well, I'm going to go ahead and I'm not going to vote and this, that, and the other because I'm not sure. It may look like Kamala Harris is down in the polls and this, that, and the other. It seems like my vote is useless. No, we have to make sure that people feel valued with their vote, and we have to keep that momentum going. I feel like if we could be out there, I don't know if y'all remember, but back in 2020 with that whole Popeyes thing where people were waiting in line for hours for a fucking piece of chicken sandwich that wasn't even that damn good and had my stomach turning upside down.
Heard it,
The
everyone.
first sandwich was good. No,
That
this,
sounds delicious.
we
The
ain't gonna
first
have
round of
Right.
sandwiches were
like
good.
wait a minute. We
That
gotta have some
second round
clarity.
was
The very
loaded
first
bag.
sandwich, was great. The problem, they ran out of the
Delicious.
original chicken piece. It was the actual chicken breast in the sandwich that was so delicious. It was something about the chicken breast, but then they ran out of chicken. Then they had like a 3-week wait, and when they came back with the new chicken, it didn't do it. That's the one that twists your stomach up in knots. I
No,
still
that
go and
first
buy it
one
through that
did
in
me
the
up,
trash. That
but it was
first one was the
delicious.
one.
But my whole point is, I don't
About
want
the
anybody to be discouraged based off of, oh my God, that long line. If y'all can wait for a piece of chicken, child, we could wait in lines to save our democracy. That's all I'm saying.
And
What
bring
do
your
you think
little
about wait a minute,
little
Aaron,
stuff.
real quick. What do you think about what G Houston is saying? I'm concerned about the cheating when counting votes.
Oh, okay. So, well, what I was going to say was just to put things into perspective, the 620,000 votes that have been cast as of today represent about 8.6 of voter turnout in the state of Georgia. However, in the 2020 election, early voting turnout only made up 10% of the vote, which was 500,000. So we've already surpassed what was done, signed, sealed, delivered. When it comes to the concern about cheating, I think the ruling that came out in Georgia kind of just makes it very cut and dry. Listen, ain't nobody cheating. If you see somebody mark your little ballot, you know what I'm saying, put a little mark on it, go get another one. Other than that, hit the button. If you in South Georgia, where I
You
like to
really
vote, you
can't
got the
cheat in
touch
Georgia.
screen. That's what I'm saying. You got the
You
touch
can't.
screen. You
That's not
can't do
how.
that.
Yeah, every state is different, but in this state, like you're literally sitting there. I mean, it's scanned in, so they've added so many precautionary measures going
Safeguards.
above and beyond to make sure you don't cheat. Like it's just I can't imagine. I can't see it possible. Like you go in, they do ID match. So I signed, and they looked at my ID to make sure that my signature matched, and I'm like, who remembers how I signed this ID back 20 years ago, but they still did it. Then you go, you vote on the machine, you get your card. The card has your vote, but then they print out. Every freaking machine has a freaking printer. So they not only have my card reading results, then they have my printout results. Then they scan my card and input the scanned card results, and then they take the printed form and scan it through a document to capture that result. So you're getting right there 2 different sets of matching data points to say like you can't cheat. So
Now in Jersey, it's not like that. It is a little bit more cheap friendly in Jersey. You know, we're more focused on the port over here. However, they are, when you go to vote in Georgia, the person who you start, I mean in Jersey, excuse me, the person who you start with kind of walks you through the whole process. So if I go to Kenny and Kenny checks my ID and gives me my ballot to go put into the machine, I go do that separately. When I come out,
Yep.
Kenny is my point person. He walks me to the little scan machine and they tell you, don't walk off. Stand right here while I do it. Once that's scanned through, the paper comes out, they put it where they need to, you get your sticker, you go back home. So it's not as fancy as the cards. There is a little bit more room for margin for error. However, that's not this state's MO per se. And like I said, they are really good. There's always enough staff for there to have good point people, and they don't let people in like that. It's like 5 people. Okay, when they come out, we'll let another 5 in.
Look,
Now,
I'm blessed to live in
I live
Maryland.
in Texas
We
too,
ain't got to worry about stuff like that.
and the way we vote is very simple. We go in, you show you so you show your ID, you get a sheet of paper, and you fill out what it is you want, and you just slide it through the machine, and you're done. You get your sticker, and you're out.
So one thing, yeah. So I wanted to add just a little bit of context, and I made a video. It's on Twitter, it's on TikTok. I think you know what? I actually didn't put on anything but Twitter, actually. I made it literally for Twitter because I was seeing so many people praising the results. I just want to give a brief bit of context around these results from yesterday. And so, this is kind of like the data that pops up. Now, when you look at this data, you have a whole lot of like, this is Metro Atlanta. This is where we are in Atlanta. So it looks like big, but that can be very deceptive. It wasn't like huge amount of people in Metro Atlanta that turned out. It just wasn't. It was about the most in one county was approaching 30,000. But these counties have millions upon millions upon millions of voters. So the turnout was good. It was record breaking. But like Leah said, it's only about 8% of all registered voters. It's a whole lot more
My
voters
name is
out
Al.
there. I'm sorry, L. There's a whole lot more voters out there who are, going to have a chance to vote and who are going to come out and vote. Now, here's the numbers and the information that really matters. Look at how it breaks down by demographic. We had almost 200,000 white voters, and we had almost half of that being black voters, which is a really good turnout for black vote population. But again, you have to look at where the votes are coming from. If there ever will be a state that's going to have some black MAGA, I swear it's definitely the state of Georgia. It is what it is. Texas too now. So Millie Chun, don't you be laughing, girl. Don't you be laughing down there because y'all got them too.
I was about to say we will not let you down.
Yeah, I got them too. And so I look at the county by county vote turnout. So when people saw a lot of turnout from what's called Fulton County, where Atlanta is situated. So people are like, yes, Fulton had a great turnout. They did have great turnout, but Fulton County is a very mixed bag. North Fulton County is predominantly white and affluent. That includes suburbs like Alpharetta, Johns Creek, Milton, Buckhead sits there as well. And so, and it neighbors one of the most strongest parts of our state for Republican control, which is Forsyth County. That's the county, literally it borders Fulton, where Oprah Winfrey went in the 90s. That was like the most racist place in America. That's right above Atlanta. That's Forsyth. So I looked at that data. So Fulton 50-50. DeKalb County had large turnout. It was the second most number of early voters. It's a predominantly black county, and it was great that they did indeed have high voter turnout. That's a good sign. But I looked at Cherokee County, Forsyth County, Hall County, Houston County. These are Republican strongholds, and they also had good turnout. I looked at the county that has actually the largest percent of black voters, and that's Clayton County. And Clayton County did not have good early voter turnout, and neither did Bibb County. So there's a lot of room for the Harris campaign to target and to increase those voters. I've posted links on Twitter saying, please phone bank, please sign up to phone bank. That's like one of the least things that we can do. I've knocked doors in multiple states. We'll continue to knock doors here in Georgia. We'll go to other states if they send me to other states. But we really have to really work to reach every single voter and just talk to them about doing their due diligence. And it really doesn't matter at the end of the day to me who you vote for, as long as you vote and that you are in the process an informed voter. I think when people are educated and they are informed, I think it makes a huge difference in terms of voting. I also want to say that we're fighting and begging you to vote early for this reason. You vote early because there are people who can't vote early and who are only going to vote on election day for whatever reason. That just happens. The more people that vote early is getting us out of the way so they don't have to deal with lines. They don't have to deal with the hassle and the frustration of voting, because there will be people. And so people are going to turn on the news at like 11 o'clock or 8 o'clock on election day who haven't voted. And if they see that there's no lines, if they see it's a smoothly process and they just have to take maybe 10 to 15 minutes out of their day, they're more inclined to do it than if they see those long lines and they say, man, fuck this, I'm not going to do it. That's why we need everyone who can vote early, no matter where you are in this country, do it. Vote early.
I will say this. Honestly, I am an absentee ballot because I'm traveling, so I had to mail my vote in. And I did the same thing when I voted for President Biden. And I wasn't, honestly, I'm a little worried about my absentee ballot. Like,
Look,
I
you
know
can track your absentee ballot. I'm an absentee ballot person. Okay, look, I've always mainly either did the mail-in drop-in, or you can vote in person as well. Normally on election day, at least for the generals, as far as like presidential elections, I always go in person and vote early. But as far as like midterms, I've always done it with absentee. So you can track your ballot. There should be like a tracker that you can do, and you can make sure that it's counted. It'll give you a little check mark letting you know like, hey, we counted your vote. You're good to go. So I look, I think that absentee is perfect, especially for people who are traveling, just like you, people who just don't have time, or people that wait in line or just don't have that amount of time. And plus, if you do submit an absentee ballot, it gives you time to do research on these up and down the ballot races. You don't know who these people are. Is this judge going to be good for me? Is this person going to represent my values? You have time to do research on the candidates as you have it there versus you going in person and you're like, I don't know who this person is, but I'm just vote blue just cause, or vote for this person because I like their name. You need to have that amount of time to be able to fill it out, do a little research, and see if this person matches your values.
And I will honestly say, I really want to thank you guys for real, because I, as you said, was just a blue voter. That sounds like a black girl. That sounds like somebody's like, oh, Mexican name. Let me say, And I did actually take time to call and ask or look up and ask because I wanted to be more knowledgeable about what I was doing because the responsibility for me is way bigger. I live in Texas. I know what goes on in Texas. We have Governor Hot Wheels, so we have to be. We need. What I'm saying, have to be. We need to be sure. We need to be sure what's going on the ballot. So I want to thank you guys for that because y'all have really opened my eyes to a lot of different things politically. I know what I want. I know what I want to see and all of that. But when it comes down to getting into the meat and potatoes of things, I love listening to you. And I have learned a lot. So I appreciate you guys for that.
Thank you. It's also really fun. I like early voting. Y'all know I'm a stats girl. So I like on November 5th when they turn it on and then you can see the little bar has moved because they started already counting the early votes. So it just feels like more hopeful. When you're watching it and when you are, making that race. Nothing is done until it's done. You can't call it till the polls close, all of that we know. But it does look good when there's just like a little bit of hope to turn it on as opposed to everybody starting at 0 on this race to 270. I just want to say I know that election fatigue is upon us all. Everybody's tired of hearing about it. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm about tired of talking. People call my phone every day outside of this. What you think about this? I'm like, I don't know more. Leave me alone. But like we can't get weary in the final hour. We have 20 more days. That's less than it takes to create a good habit. And so if you could just like buckle down for your kids, for yourself, for your black man that you may love, for you being the black man, it might be self-love, whatever it looks like, whatever gets you to the poll, to early vote, to vote on the 5th, like just go and
a vote for Kamala is self-love. So I think that's
come on,
great.
somebody.
That's a great slogan.
But you know what? I gotta give y'all give Georgia their things because when you're talking about voter fatigue, I know Georgia is tired as hell. The runoffs, the Warnock and Herschel Walker, it's still like it's just back to back, nonstop, and it's always eyes on Georgia. What's going on in Georgia? Georgia on my mind. I mean,
and then they get in the Super Bowl in the 2028, so you know it's gonna be more road work happening, baby. Them people is good and tired.
Yeah.
But shout out to Georgia, shout out to Henry County. You know what I'm saying? We appreciate all that y'all did last election, and we would love y'all to do it again.
Yeah, that's great. Taking your 93-year-old father-in-law to vote. We saw that, today, former President Jimmy Carter, who was 100 years old, who literally said he wanted to live just to cast his vote for Vice President Harris. He voted today. It's like he was there. He voted today by dropping his ballot in the drop box. He could have stood
to mail it in, but he was yet present.
Yeah,
well, I think they wanted. Literally, they wanted they wanted this seen. They wanted it proven in case he literally dies tonight. Like I think that they're literally thinking this is about to happen. I mean, if he's suffering, yes, he's been in hospice for over a year. If he is suffering, Lord, let the long suffering, be your grace and mercy over him. And so guys, with that, I think that, that kind of brings us to a nice conclusion for the show, very focused on the Black Man Plan, and what the Black man can do with the plan. And, we're getting ready, can't wait to be back next week to see what the week gives us, what the topics will be, and where we are as we're getting closer and closer. We are 20 days out. Everyone out there watching, we appreciate you. For each person on the panel, tell our viewers how they can find you and what you do on your individual platforms. Elle, you're
What's
at the
up,
top.
y'all? It's your girl Elle. No, I'm just kidding. Imagine if we were like on the radio.
No, rap it, Elle, rap it.
My name is Elle, and I'm the best. I'm better than all the rest. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. Seriously, y'all get focused. My name is Elle. You can find me on Just Elle Murasaki over on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. If you follow me on Twitter, excuse me, it's Elle Murasaki. You did just see me on TMZ. They love me real bad, y'all. They let me improv my story. They said, just watch the topic in real time and then say something. I said, not we besties. Y'all trust me?
Yeah.
But I bump my gums about all things pop culture, all things news related. I break it down and chit chat about it like you would with your girlfriend on the couch. So if you like to bump your gums and be in people's mess sometimes, holler at your girl.
Hey, it's your boy Kenny, better known as Too Out to Real. You can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. X is where I'm down in the streets. But I just give it to you raw and real. I break down policy. I debunk misinformation. And y'all will actually be seeing me a little bit more. I'm going to be doing some door knocking. So if anybody's in the Maryland area, I will be knocking doors on the 26th because a lot of people right now are being, prioritized elsewhere in Pennsylvania to hit these key swing states. But we also need on-the-ground volunteers here in Maryland. So if you're in the Tacoma Park, Silver Spring area, I will be knocking on doors. If you guys don't mind volunteering a little bit of your time to make sure that we can save democracy, get Angela Alsabrook elected as senator, to give Kamala Harris a majority in the Senate and maintain the Senate so that way she can appoint judges and also get bills passed through that second chamber. Also, I will be in Savannah with the Congressional Black Caucus PAC, and we will be doing a tour and talking about Black and brown issues, trying to get people educated and willing to vote in Georgia. So y'all will be seeing me in the GA. So
yeah, shout out to the 912. We love Savannah. Go Tigers.
Hello, everybody. It's your girl, Millie Chan, and you can find me at Millie Chan on 808 on TikTok, Millie Chan on Instagram, and Millie Chan TV on YouTube. I talk about hot topics, what's going on today, and recently, because of conversations, I wanted to get into the politics of it all. And I'm learning and understanding, and I'll be talking about it a little bit more on my platform, so be ready. But that's what I do.
Be ready.
Be ready. Tiffany, Double D Mother of the Black Accurate News is not with us tonight because we did do a time change, and I apologize. It's my fault, right? Like I wasn't here last week because I was in New York for an AI meeting. Right. And so right now, yeah. And so this week I got getting ready to go and see Usher, who's doing a huge Get Out the Vote event, and I'm going to that to like interview people and really work. I'm going to work. Like I'm working to 1 o'clock tonight at this event to get people fired up in Georgia. It's literally going to be in the historic West End, kind of like, well, actually, what's in Atlanta we call the SWAT. So it's like Southwest, the very bottom of the West End, the top here of like, off MLK. This is at Cascade, if you know the area. So I'm really excited about doing that and going there.
Boulevard.
That's right. It's at the Cascade Skating Center. You guys can find me at you can find me on TikTok, Zactivist. That's my largest platform. Enjoy it while you can, because we all know what's going to happen to TikTok on January 19th. They've spent an entire lifetime, it seems, suppressing Black content anyway. So fuck them. It's over. You can find me also on Instagram at the Zactivist, Zactivist. And of course, please follow my YouTube, which is 3+1 Media ZK. I have big dreams and big goals to that platform, but I need you to follow it and to engage in the content so I can continue to grow and continue to do the things I need to do on that platform. When TikTok is gone, that's where I will primarily be. You can also follow me on Twitter at Zachary K, ZACKORY. ORYK, and I engage throughout the course of the day. I really value and I appreciate you for being there. The platform ties up people, politics, and pop culture. Very heavy right now on politics, but the real passion is the people. And so there's so many things happening that the news won't cover. We just had like a very famous ice hockey player in, I want to say Finland or Sweden. He was murdered by his husband. He was the first openly gay athlete, I think, in this country to be a part of like some big, huge Olympic team. And he was just murdered. You don't know that. I wouldn't know it if I didn't constantly search for interesting news. So that's the kind of stuff I love to cover in addition to politics. So please follow me and you will see all types of good stuff.
R.I.P. Liam Payne from One Direction. That's not politics, but that is damn near in the intersection. If you were a One Direction girly, then you know.
I don't know them, but I'm sad he's dead. What did they sing?
He fell off One Direction sung a bunch, but he fell off the balcony.
No, I knew, but what did he? What's a One Direction song?
Oh, girl, you light up my life.
Oh, that song.
Oh, Light Up My Life.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's
We love
unfortunate.
them.
That is heartbreaking. Thoughts
Wait a
and
minute,
prayers?
Zach, I know you have to go, but can you just get on your throne and, or either too raw, too real, get on your throne. I need you to just eat. Wait a minute. I want you to eat right now. This person right here, who is this? Mary Poppins.
Look, no time. What did we talk about earlier? We have no
I only
time
talk to Americans.
for these folks.
I only talk to Americans. Like I don't talk to Russian bots. I don't. There's no reason to. Mary is trying to get her check, baby. Let me tell you something. Mary is working. Mary is working tonight.
Mary
She
ain't
needs her
popping,
money.
okay? Let me tell you.
And it's
Okay.
okay. Mary, I'm not mad at you,
All
girl.
she's
It's a
doing
lot
is
of people
popping
getting
her
that money.
thumbs from a computer screen because she's not going to be voting because she's obviously not from here. So
You're not from here.
no purpose of wasting our time and energy. We have to
Baby,
be
it's cold
outside
as hell
and
in
we'll give it
Siberia.
into
It
the
is
cold.
cold as hell in
Listen,
Siberia.
you're
And I want her to
Bye,
have the gas.
Mary.
I want her to heat her home.
Mary. Non-factor.
Not Sandra
I
Clark.
love us. I just love us.
Mary.
Yeah, like I'm not mad at Mary. Mary trying to feed her children. Mary is
Mary,
out
we
there.
don't
Let me
want
tell
no
you something.
hateration in this dancery. Go somewhere.
First
Yeah.
and foremost,
Get away from me with this, Apollo.
Mary is not a woman. Mary is a man who goes out and hunts bear, kills the bear, skins the bear, makes the bear skin rug, wears the bear, boils down the fat, feeds to her children. It's brutal out there in Russia. And so I just, I wasn't going to disparage Mary.
Zach, why don't you see if there's a studio out here? We can go drop us some beats.
Wow.
And with that being said, we will see everybody when next week. Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, guys.
Bye.